Today we're going to be talking about how artists can protect their copyrights and fan base, and we're really excited to be here today. So to start it off, I'm Ashli Weiss. I'm an attorney, and prior to starting my own law firm, I worked with several Fortune 500 companies, including Louis Vuitton, Benefit Cosmetics, Tory Burch, and Western Digital. I'm also an advisor at 500 Startups and Women Tech Network. I've been featured in NBC News and The Guardian on NFTs and NASDAQ with my firm.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liat. I'm the CMO at DeviantArt. And for those of you who don't know us, we are the world's largest online art community. Today, we have over 70 million users. We host over 500 million pieces of art on the platform. And over the past couple of years, we've been getting into the Web3 space through different technology and services with protection against art theft for creators, which I guess we'll get more into in a minute.
Awesome. So really quickly for this fireside chat, we've got a quick agenda. Who can protect the artwork, how to protect your artwork, and of course, why. Who can protect the artwork? It's going to be the owner of the artwork. It sounds really simple at first, but it's a bit more complex from a legal perspective, so that's why this has a whole slide. So I've got an example up here with a photo of Naum Gaia. He's a photographer who randomly is speaking on a panel I just saw. So if you're out there.
Yeah, no, if you're here, you can hop
come on
in.
up. So let's assume that Naum Gaia has taken the photo of the scream, which is the one on the very far right, and he minted that as an NFT. Steph Curry then comes along and he purchases that NFT. Question is, who is the owner of the copyright? Naum Gaia continues to be the owner of the copyright, even though Steph Curry now has the NFT in his wallet. Steph Curry can do whatever he wants with it as long as it's not commercial. There is an exception that if it's in writing. So if you want to know if there's been more rights assigned and who is the actual owner, another thing you can do is check out the NFT collection's website's terms of use. You could contact the NFT creator or look at the marketplace terms and conditions. And I rarely see this, but sometimes ownership details are in the metadata of the NFT. So now that we know who can enforce, which is the owner, Liat's going to talk about how we can protect our copyrights.
Yeah, sure. So I think, for artists, when you publish your work, when you have the copyright to your work, you still have to deal with the huge challenge of figuring out if somebody is stealing your work, using your work without your permission, infringing on whatever rights you've put out there, and then figure out how you're going to act on that. So one of the things that we built out at DeviantArt is a service called DeviantArt Protect. We use AI technology to scan the blockchains, today 9 blockchains, to find potential collisions with work and copyright already published on DeviantArt. And then we'll alert our users to that. From that point, if it is an infringement of their IP, they can reach out to the relevant marketplace and follow a DMCA process, which I'm sure you can tell us much more efficiently about. But essentially, it's the process you follow to have infringing work removed from any platform on the web. So I think these kinds of tools are really useful for creators in terms of them being able to track and monitor for to be aware of where these things are happening and then be able to act on that to protect their work, their brand, their monetization.
And it's absolutely critical, especially if you're seeing a lot of infringement, to utilize a tool such as Deviant Protect, because you can be proactive at that point rather than reactive, because you have someone that is monitoring actively for you. If you're not in a position to, or maybe you just don't even know if there's infringements out there, We also put up on this slide that you can check it out by doing a Google image reverse search, and you can see if there's any infringement going on. There's also other third-party service providers that are going to charge money to use as well. And those are still developing in this space, so we'll see how that continues to work out. Now we're going to jump on to enforcing with the DMCA. When you are enforcing for copyright infringement, this is the legal tool that you're going to be using. It's a very powerful tool, meaning that you can just provide bare minimum information to a marketplace and say, hey, they're infringing on my copyright, and the marketplace needs to remove it within a short period of time. If they're not removing it, you probably need to contact an attorney. You do not want to abuse the DMCA, and what I'm trying to say here is you want to make sure that it's actually an infringement, not an artwork that has inspiration. If you are continuously using the DMCA with a certain marketplace and it's not actually infringement, you may not be able to enforce anymore. They'll take that right away. And as a best practice, some of these marketplaces are still developing, so when you do a DMCA request takedown, it's possible that they won't give you an email saying a confirmation. And that confirmation is critical, and we should talk about the dates too that DeviantArt does, because when you're getting a confirmation, it says that's the date that you submitted the copyright infringement. That way, if your artwork or the infringement is not taken down, you can go back and say, hey, it's been a week, what's going on here? This is absurd, we need it taken down. So email the marketplace in addition to submitting a DMCA takedown request. And the website up there is a resource that I created, and it kind of went viral. It's a step-by-step process on several different marketplaces on how you can do a DMCA takedown request for NFT copyright infringement. But the date thing, I really think that's important. There's a lot of great things that...
First of all, Ashli has a ton of great tips. That website, your guidelines on dealing with DMCA for NFT marketplaces is so valuable. I know a lot of creators really appreciate it. So if you're looking for a resource, definitely check that out. It's going to explain a lot of the complex terms and requirements to you. You know, I think this kind of leads us into this broader issue of there are still many checks and balances missing in Web3, layers of security and trust that need to be established. In many ways, we are still relying on systems and regulations that work for Web 2, but don't always make sense in the context of Web 3. So when I think about even the DMCA process, you know, when an NFT gets minted to a blockchain, it's on the blockchain, and it's likely going to show up in multiple marketplaces, even if it wasn't minted through them. And then this turns this challenge for creators into so much of a heavier task, because now it's not just about filing a DMCA to one marketplace. You're going to have to keep reaching out to more and more marketplaces. So I think this, for us, has been the real inspiration behind establishing our Protect protocol. It's an open protocol for the ecosystem to communicate trust-related issues around NFTs. So in the context of DeviantArt, the way that we use the protocol is we allow our users to report a claim through the protocol about art infringement. So basically, you're just publishing to the world if something is an art infringement, right? You're making that public knowledge, putting it out there on the web. And this allows artists, if they don't want to deal with all the DMCAs and marketplace takedowns, or if they've dealt with some and they want to make sure that that infringement isn't going to pop up somewhere else again, to put that out there for everyone to be aware of. And it's a platform that we hope more, other platforms, other marketplaces in the ecosystem will utilize as well. We're working with several other partners, and I think we all have a responsibility as platforms and creators in Web3 to help make it safer, both for creators so that their work isn't getting infringed upon, but also for the buyers and consumers who a lot of times innocently are just buying things that they thought were legit. So check out the Protect protocol. If you want to work with us and partner on that, we're really happy to have more people in the space. And if you're just buying NFTs, you can go and search the contract ID on that to check if there are any claims put out against that contract before you buy.
And it's really, I mean, if I was an artist, I would upload everything on Deviant Protect. From a legal perspective, it is very important to have evidence. And when I'm talking in terms of evidence, I'm talking about the date that you're publishing your artwork and you're putting it out there. If you're doing that through something such as Deviant or Protect, you have that type of evidence if someone is saying, no, actually, I own that artwork. And then a bit more on the Protect protocol. I know that there's a little bit of a community aspect or some thought of doing that in the future too. And that is something else that is going to possibly be helpful, and we may see this more in the Web3 space of, you know, is this actually an infringement? What are other people saying that are within the art domain as well? Or is this more of an inspiration? So we're going to see more of these types of feedbacks, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think to your point that it's really interesting if you want to have that copyright when you publish your work. This, of course, is true for DeviantArt, but it can be for other platforms as well. But, you know, when an artist publishes art on DeviantArt, you see the date that it was published. You see that artist's profile connected to it. You see all of the comments and discussions around that artwork. And that essentially is your copyright, your proof of your evidence of ownership, with the context of all the provenance around your artwork for forever, right? So utilizing those kind of tools alongside whatever else you're doing with NFTs is a really great way to have that copyright and be able to point at something when you need the evidence.
Yes. And it kind of touches a bit on our collaboration and education piece a bit more too. At least from the third-party platform perspective, one of the things that it can be a struggle is if you're an artist and you see an infringement up there and you're submitting it and you're not seeing anything happen. You're continuing to see your artwork up there still. And it's completely understandable to get very angry with the marketplace itself. But taking a step back, the marketplaces are probably inundated. They're very fast-growing companies in a new space, and the education piece with them is really critical. So one of the things that we will have to just continue to do is hone in on the education piece, not just amongst our own community, but with the marketplaces as well. The more that we tell them that we're seeing issues and also proposing solutions, such as maybe knowing who those sellers are, doing a bit more seller gating, making sure that their IDs are crossed or cross-checked. There's several different things that we have seen in the Web 2 space that can be transitioned over into the Web 3 space when it comes to NFT marketplaces too. But it's about just continuing that conversation and not just shutting it down because of the frustrations that can come with seeing infringement.
Right, I think this education piece is really interesting, just about how we establish culture around how work gets published in the Web3 space. So you mentioned something interesting earlier on around inspiration. So, you know, I think oftentimes there's a really fine line between what is infringement and what is inspiration. And most times just giving credit to whoever it is that inspired the work, or if it's fan art, what it's based upon, can really help solve the issue, because most brands and collections want a community of fans who want to create more content around what they're doing. It just needs to be clear that that's what it is and not posing as the real deal. So I think that's another piece we need to speak about more in terms of education of us as a community and ecosystem.
I agree, and I'm so glad that you said fans, because we're coming down to the minute, and why are we doing this? We're, of course, protecting the artists because, this is how we're making money as artists. But we're also protecting our fan base from being defrauded. When they're making a purchase, they want to support the artist that they know and that they love. The last thing they want to do is be supporting someone that who knows what they're going to be doing with that type of money. So it's very important that we're proactive rather than being reactive.
Right, absolutely. I think it's about protecting the space as a whole. When it comes to infringement, in the end, everybody is hurt, right? Obviously, the creator who was infringed on, the buyer of that, but ultimately, really, all of us as an ecosystem, because this just hurts adoption in the long run. It hurts participation by more creators, more buyers. So we want to make a safe, trusted ecosystem.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Liat.
Thank you.
Yeah.